challenges and strategies. Now, thing is, before I really go down to my topic, I'd like to explain what exactly is our normal flora, what exactly are the organisms which are prevalent, and what exactly is going on. Why are we over here? Do you think the infection control or infection prevention programs were conducted as they are conducted now? But then what is the need for it? We've been talking about infection control, but suddenly this infection control has changed to infection prevention. So infection control is like when you have infection, you're giving antibiotics, everything gets cured. But now thing is ki if we compare the two countries like the developing countries and the developed, all the developed countries have got more of gram-positive bacteria which are more prevalent, and the resistant organisms are like staph, which is resistant to the highest class of antibiotic like methicillin, and we call it as MRSA. Same way for enterococcus, we have vancomycin resistant, so VRE. So these are the top class or the highest MDRs. But as we compare to the Asian population, all over the North Belt, you will find in whole of the Asia, it is a gram negative. Like you have E. coli, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, and Acinetobacter. And we have the highest class of antibiotic, which is like the carbapenems. So we have carbapenem resistant E. coli, Klebsiella, and Pseudomonas. Now scenarios have changed. We are sharp. We are the highest amongst the population kind. With the topmost brains are there. But then story is like we hardly go into the research. We have not even developed a single antibiotic which is of concern or which can treat the gram-negative or gram-positive bacteria. We have always been looking forward to the Western world, and they had been doing a lot for us. But 10 to 12 years before, they realized that they had been doing research for 15 years, and then they give you antibiotic, and since we have over-the-counter availability of antibiotics, so we actually have resistance patterns within like 5 years or so. So they do research for 15 years and they earn only for 5 years. So they decided that they'll develop antibiotics. So rather than antibiotics, they will go for drugs for BP. They will go for drugs for you have multivitamins and all, or for diabetes or for blood pressure, where they carry on research only for 5 years and they can earn for 50 years. So they have stopped developing antibiotics for us, and we don't do any research. So scenario is bad, and we all know this in 15 years, but still we haven't done anything. So none of the antibiotic is there in the pipeline, and we really don't know how are we going to treat in future with our patients who are resistant to like carbapenems, which is the highest class of antibiotic. So with that, I'll just start because we don't have anything. So we really don't know what is to be done. So we have to conserve whatever we have. So definitely antimicrobial resistance, when we talk about, then it is not only the bacteria, but we have seen with tuberculosis also, we have seen with fungus also, we have seen a lot of parasites also, and viruses also who are resistant. So that's the reason why we call it as antimicrobial, because it's resistant to multi-drugs, to different categories. So we have seen what exactly is the reason when we talk about why resistance develops and how it is. So one is like overuse of antibiotic, where we have viral disorder and we take antibiotic. Like I'll just give you one example. Majority of the time during the winter season, you always see that you've got, like some throat infection is there. Usually it is upper respiratory. And we know that it is viral because 75% of the infections, majority of the time, it is upper respiratory and it is viral. But then it has got its own course. It takes around 7 days. But when it is the third or the fourth day, when it's peak time and we cannot control it, what do we normally do? We always think that if we take antibiotics, we'll be safe. But then, does that work? You had a viral disorder and you are taking antibiotics. So antibiotic is against bacteria. It does not work for the viruses, but we still take it. All the viruses usually have their own self-limiting time. If you take antibiotic, it's 1 week. If you don't take it, then it is 7 days. But does that work? 7 days and 1 week is one and the same thing. It doesn't make much difference. But still we feel secure with it. So that is like overuse. And I'll show you how overusage has created resistance. Another is misuse of antibiotics. We take antibiotics. The doctor prescribes it for 5 days, but we take it for 3 days. We feel happy because 90% of the bacteria are killed. We are very happy and we leave it. But then what happens to that case? So I'll just show you in a picture also. Another is agriculture use. In 1980, we had one antibiotic which came into picture. That is like colistin and polymyxin B, but it was discontinued because it used to have a side effect of renal failure. So 10% patient used to have renal failure with that. We discontinued. But then scenario has changed. When carbapenem resistance was there, then some intelligent person picked up these two drugs like colistin and polymyxin B, thinking of that at least we can save our patients 90% of it. 10% will develop renal failure, but then suppose there are 100 patients who have got carbapenem resistant infections and you have to treat them, and you know that ertapenem, doripenem, imipenem, meropenem is not working at all. It is just because they have carbapenemase enzyme which is not allowing the antibiotic to enter inside. So thing was, they started giving colistin and polymyxin B, which are actually bacteriostatic. They just make holes in the cell wall and now the drugs can enter. But then 10% will develop renal failure, that is there. So rather than like you have 100 patients who will be dying because there is no antibiotic which is working for it, we had at least 90% will be cured and 10% will develop renal failure, and we can take care of it. So that was there. But then when we discontinued from the human use, colistin was picked up by the agriculture people because they usually keep a flock together. And then what happens is they fed the chickens with colistin in their feed, and they found that the size of the chicken increased. They took less feed and they were the saviors. They never got any infection. So colistin has been in use since 1980 in the agriculture part also, and we had been consuming non-veg, so definitely colistin goes along with it. Another is inadequate infection control. We've been talking about it, but I'm really telling you, it's very difficult to implement all these practices because it's very difficult to change the mindset of people that they're supposed to wash hands, and 80% infections can spread through the hands. That is very, like agreeable part, but then nobody follows it. It's very difficult to do that. So I'll just come down to that. We've been talking about the resistant bugs. So what exactly it is? So when these bacteria, they do not respond to any of the antibiotics, which is the highest class also, we call them as superbug. And these superbugs are prevalent in every hospital. Only thing is we monitor, so we know it. If we don't monitor, it is not there only then. So thing is, different type of resistance, as I say, that it is there, it is bacterial, viral, fungal, everything is becoming resistance. So we have different types. We have gram-positive bacteria, you can see that is MRSA and VRE. We have gram-negative, like E. coli, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter are there. And same way for tuberculosis also, we had different classes. We had MDR, multiple drug-resistant tuberculosis. Then came the scenario of XDR, extensive drug-resistant tuberculosis. And then in fungal, we found that when COVID was there and secondary infections were there, especially with fungus, we found that one of the candida emerged out, and that was resistant to all the antifungals which were available, and then they identified and they labeled it as Candida auris. So we do have fungus also, which is becoming resistant to all the antifungals. Now what we have seen that we have always been, like very worried that so many people died in COVID. We agree with that. We do feel sad that we have lost so many people. But then I'll tell you that silently, so many people are being killed with this, because it is resistant to the antibiotics, and he dies off. But only thing is, we label them that he has CLABSI, he has SCOTY, or he has any other disorder, and nobody talks about that it was resistance of antibiotic. We could not save him because of this. So that is what is the scenario. And what we have seen is that infections which are caused by the superbugs that are actually deadly, and you'll find in Asia, 47,030,000 people are going to die just because they are going to face with the resistant bugs, and we don't have any antibiotics to save them. Now, as I told you, we have two different types of antibiotics. One is bacteriostatic, as I've talked about, like colistin and polymyxin B, and we have bactericidal, which actually kills the bacteria. See, here I like to talk about, we always feel that we being as human beings, we do have a brain, we are intelligent on the earth, but then when we talk about the bacteria, they are just single cell structures. Everything is introduced in their body. They have mitochondria, Golgi body, and everything dumped actually into their body. And you find they don't have a brain, but then still they are smarter than us. We developed penicillin, but they developed penicillinase enzyme so that this drug does not enter inside it. Then we thought that we'll actually make antibiotics, will go and get attached to the receptors of these bacteria. They change the characters of the receptors, and your antibiotic was not able to work. Then we had some beta-lactamases which came into picture. We developed new antibiotics. They developed beta-lactamases, enzyme, character of the enzyme was changed so that they can survive. Same way we had, like some drugs which used to make pores in the bacteria. They made some other channel through which the antibiotic used to be out from there. So that was called as more of pore-in channels. So again, your antibiotics didn't work. We came up with carbapenems. They changed the enzyme characters again to carbapenemases so that this drug does not enter. So we always feel that we are intelligent, we are going into an AI era, but then ultimately if you go and look at the bacteria, they are smarter than us, without brain, without any multi-developed organs the way we have. You can imagine that we are failure in front of them. We are coming up with new antibiotics, but they always develop the ways how to survive and overcome all that. So these are the bacteria and these are the viruses. When we give antibiotic, they are killed, but it does not work on the viruses at all. So this is how the antibiotics work. It was like initially in the first picture you can see that these antibiotics, when they were applied, they used to die off. But then scenario is that they are resistant because they have changed their characters. And in COVID, you all have learned this word like mutation or mutant. So they change their character. When you give antibiotics, they too survive. And you find that it's not working and the patient is in a very bad situation. So is the situation in majority of the hospitals also. So this is what I have said, that majority of the time when it is a upper respiratory tract disorder, it is 75% viral and 25% bacterial. But then what do we really do? We take antibiotics when we have a viral disorder and it does not work. It just gives us a happiness that yes, I'm taking an antibiotic, and we always feel, feel insecure that we are taking antibiotics means we are in the safer zone, but it is not like that. So this is what I have told you. And you can see it in the picture that it doesn't make any difference when you take antibiotic and when you don't take. It's just a small change. You feel little comfort. That's what we feel, but then ideally there's nothing much in it. No much change. It happens. Now thing is key, when we go to a doctor, why does he gives you an antibiotic? That's what we have to think of. And another is key, suppose you go to a doctor, you pay 1,000 rupees and you have got an upper respiratory tract infection. And he tells you, go and do gargles or you do steam. Are you happy with it? Because you'll always say, ye to mujhe pehle se hi pata tha. We all do it, and we'll always say he's not a good doctor, and you always try to go to another doctor. And then you are ready to pay another 1,000 rupees, but what do you need is antibiotic. Although that was not going to work, and that first doctor was good, but then ultimately we realized, ye to mujhe pata tha, but then I don't want to do that because what you need is antibiotic. We always feel that this is a security point, but actually it is not. It works only when you have a bacterial disorder, and we don't have it when it comes to upper respiratory tract disorders, and we have just been taking antibiotics like that only. Even when you go to a pharmacist, you always say that give me a course of antibiotic, or you say that gala kharab hai, just aap mujhe kuch de dijiye, and he'll give you a course of antibiotic and you feel very happy and pleased with it. So it is a pressure on the doctor also, because he knows if he doesn't write an antibiotic, you're going to change. Another is, rather than explaining that you don't need it, it is better to give. Even when you'll question, he'll say you may have secondary infections, you just take it. And it is going to prevent the secondary bacterial infection, so you just take it. But ideally, you don't need it. We just need patience, which is not there with us. And it is the third and the fourth day when it is at its peak level, you always pick up a course of antibiotic, which is not required. So we just say, like, antibiotics always need time to work. And I'll just show you in this picture. Suppose the doctor has written antibiotic for 5 days or 7 days, whatever is the timeline. On first day when you take a course of antibiotic, you'll find, like after 3 days, you find that this much is killed. So 90% population is killed. But then if you want a total eradication, definitely if he has written the course for 5 days, you have to complete it for 5 days. Otherwise, the bacteria will not be killed. And if this is what is the situation, Now it will depend whether you have a strong immunity or weak. If you're strong, you will become a carrier, and if you're weak, you will spread and you may have recurrence. आपके खुद में दोबारा से infection हो जाएगा, क्योंकि जो बचे हुए bacteria हैं, they are bad, they are all resistant population. So I'll just give you a scenario, the case scenario. There is like, they thought that upper respiratory disorder is there, and they gave antibiotic, and then ultimately what happens is susceptible bacteria are killed majority of the time, as I showed you in the previous picture. But then we find that after few days, this resistant population is left. It was that you never needed any antibiotic, but when you take antibiotic, it was a viral disorder. So obviously when you are taking an antibiotic, it is going to kill your normal flora, which has happened like this. And two bacteria which are basically resistant, they are the ones which are left. Now they will multiply, and then you have become carrier, and you will spread this resistant bacteria to the other people. And the cycle will continue, definitely. And this is what is the scenario. If you are weak, then they will cause you infection, otherwise you will become a carrier, and you are responsible for spreading the multi-drug resistant bacteria. And then treatment is not going to be effective because it is resistant. There's another patient, and there's a small child who has come from the hospital, and they have taken them to the pediatrician, and you can say that, yeah, definitely they have given her antibiotic, and the parents are now feeling that after 3 days she's absolutely fine, and they stop it here. Okay, and this is what we usually do. So what exactly we do is, like, the doctor has given you an antibiotic which you wanted it, you have taken, and after 3 days you feel very comfortable, and you actually stop it. Those 2 doses or 4 doses for 2 days are now being used next time. Either you give it to your friend or you give it to your relatives कि आपको भी गला खराब है, मेरा भी यही था, I think you can take it, you can use it, I have these 2 doses lying with me. But then ultimately what is the end result? Because you had a weak immunity, strongest you become a carrier. But if you are weak, and you can see that you have resistant population now, and this resistant bacteria will now multiply, and you may suffer with the disease again, and you find that high doses are required, the longer treatment is required, you need some more expensive medications or IV medication and hospitalization also, because once it is resistant, means you need carbapenem, and if it is a carbapenem resistant bug, then you need colistin, which is 2,500 rupees one dose. Along with that, you need meropenem, because carbapenems are not able to enter inside the bacteria because of the carbapenemase enzyme. But when you give colistin, which makes multiple holes, and now your meropenem can go inside, so you need a combination of the two, colistin and meropenem, or colistin and some other drug which can now enter. So you need a combination, which means 5,000 per day, per dose, and 3 times 15,000, at least 7 days, so 1,05,000 rupees. So you can imagine the scenario is bad. You will be losing money, and since it has to be given by slow infusion, definitely you need to go to any of the hospital or daycare center for all this. So I'll just show you that you need to monitor these carbapenem resistant bugs in your hospital. See, whatever you monitor, that will get corrected. So whatever gets collected, that gets corrected. That is always right. I'm just sharing you the data of my hospital, and you can see that we started, these are the number of patients who have carbapenem resistant bugs in 1 month. Maybe he has gotten 5 samples, maybe he gets it in 10 samples, but we'll consider him as 1 infection in 1 month. So these are the number of people who had carbapenem resistant bugs. So this is, we started with 212, and see we have reached up to 829, but you can see it's been a step ladder, but you can see it was 796 over here when it was 2019, and with COVID, because the infection control practices were being followed, and this was lesser than what we had in 2015. So actually it is right that whatever we were following during the COVID practice, that has to be followed judiciously so that we don't have these things. In fact, I'll show you the data. I have a lot of presentations, and I'll present those things also. Since your mouth and nose were covered, so airborne infections like tuberculosis, swine flu was low. Resistant bugs, as I've showed you, they went down. Then because the surfaces were cleaned, so definitely majority of the other infections which are occurring in the hospital were not there. So everything, the infection control, infections went down, hepatitis A, E, Salmonella, Shigella went down, swine flu and tuberculosis infections were not there. So I think, like whatever was there, the practice we were following during the COVID season, everybody had the hand rub, but now I don't know where it is gone. It is not there with majority of us. So ideally, that was a better thing. Surfaces to be cleaned 4-5 times in a day, and definitely mouth and nose covering, that had made a difference. And definitely another thing was everybody was carrying a water bottle and they were having their homemade food. So that also made a difference. So we had less of diarrhea, less of salmonella also in that era. So this is like sample wise, we'll see that it is basically urine or cotty that has got more of carbapenem resistant bugs. And when we look at the superbugs, it is always the Klebsiella and E. coli, they are on the top. Majority of the time what we have seen is in majority of the hospital, over the Asian belt, it is Klebsiella which is on the top and is resistant to carbapenem bugs only. And then followed by that is E. coli, followed by that is Pseudomonas, followed by that is Acinetobacter. So if we go back 5 years, Acinetobacter was very bad, but now it is no more like that. It's become a good baby, and definitely carbapenem has taken up a lead. MRSA and VRE, definitely it is more prevalent in developed countries rather than the developing countries. So what exactly is with the carbapenem resistant bugs and why are we afraid of? One, they are resistant to all antibiotics, so it is very difficult to treat such patients. Second is definitely when you're not able to treat, majority of the patients, they die, so mortality rate is very high with it. Another is they spread very fast, and contact precautions have to be followed. So it is basically the surfaces which take part a lot. So site of colonization, what we have seen is that it is the lower GIT tract. So once a patient is carbapenem resistant positive in any of the samples, we'll find that it just stays there in his GIT tract for around 1 year. After that, it is the UTI, as I showed you in the figure. And sinks and environment, because Pseudomonas is water living, so majority of the time you find it around the sinks. So that is another area where you can isolate these organisms along with Klebsiella. So root is, as I told you, your hands play an important role, whether it is direct or indirect. So surfaces and hands are the one which has to be clean. So 3 things when it comes to antibiotic stewardship, where we have to conserve, where we have to restrict the overuse and the underuse also. So restrict, reserve and rotate, because on rotation also what we have seen that when you rotate the antibiotics, rotation in the sense is like you don't use for 1 year or 2 years, whatever you decide. Like we had a Micagenta once as reserve drugs, then we had imipenem and piptaz, but that didn't work because it was partly beta-beta-lactamase inhibitor and partly was carbapenem resistant. But definitely with the Micagenta, we found that we didn't use the antibiotics for 1 year. And then we found that it became sensitive because these drugs, they